Once upon a time, in a place far, far away, somewhere in South America it's rumored, there was a little fishing village, and this is where Conquistador got his name. It was a fishing village where fish feared him, and women loved him. Loved him. And so, in the next episodes, we build a lure to celebrate and commemorate the man they call Conquistador. G'day folks, Greg Budd from Bud's Baits here. Welcome to the African Lure Craftsman. Another day, another adventure. Welcome back, guys. So we're going to resume the Conquistador lure today. Yesterday we finished off, we did the sanding, we had glued the wire in, we had bound the wire, we had filled the recesses with jacaranda sawdust, very fine sawdust and super glue, and it's created this exceptionally hard substrate which will hold the wire in there. Today we're going to recess the eyes. As it's a freestyle lure, I'll just do them individually. I'll draw them on with a pencil and I'll do them with a Dremel tool and a little routing bit. Nothing too fancy there. And then we'll get this little baby painted up with some primers, sanded back, painted again, and then onto the foil and the final detailing of Conquistador. I'm drawing the eyes on now. I'm going to approximate 11mm eye. I'm normally pretty accurate with experience, but yeah, you kind of do have to measure it sometimes, or get the eye you're going to use, just draw around it is a good way to go. And then to match it up on the other side, what I normally do is I just draw a line across the head as straight as possible down the other side, and I've started that one already in the right place, and we will draw that on there as well. So we can always look at it from the top, from the bottom, and then from front on, and see where we've gone wrong. So we're back at the spray booth now. I'm going to now coat the lure. What we've done in the meantime is we've done the eye recesses on both sides. They're perfectly even. We've sealed that with super glue. Always seal that again. And we're ready to paint, basically. What I'm going to paint this with as my primer is I use an MS primer, which is an Auto 2K primer. That's it there. It's like the yellow stuff. You do get in the grey color as well, and I find this very, very good because though it's hard and dries hard, it sands in a very sort of powdery form, and that texture of the paint allows you to fill in the grain of the wood, the cracks, any imperfections that are on the lure, so that when you sand it back, those remain filled in. What I'll normally do is I'll paint it twice with the primer, with the MS primer, a sand back in between each stage, and then I'll paint it with a white coat. And the reason for that is with the powdery texture of the MS, the foil doesn't really stick to it too well. The white base coat paint, auto base coat, the foil sticks to a lot better. So let's go for that. Firstly, we're going to mix your MS primer, give it a bit of a shake always, although I have pre-stirred this. Little yogurt cup, always handy to keep your yogurt cups around. And I'm just going to do a very, very by eye mixture. It's supposed to be a 4-to-1 mixture. We only need a little bit for this one lure, so that's plenty there. Get the lid on straight away. That's one lesson I've learnt, is always put your lids on, because it's so easy to knock things when you're reaching for your next jar of paint. And now I'm going to add the 2K hardener. Now, bearing in mind this stuff is very, very noxious, and it's very important to wear breathing apparatus. I am not going to wear it during one lure. I've got a very, very good extraction booth here, and I'm also in the outdoors. So I'm just going to be spraying away from me this time. But very important to wear the right breathing apparatus. I do normally wear a full face mask, It's a hazard with glasses because I have to wear glasses at my age now, but it's one of the things you have to put up with. There's no finesse in your priming coat. There's going to be little pores in the wood, grain, various things like that. It's quite a thin mixture of MS, and I'm using it very, very liberally. In some places I'll even pull the paint to cover a hole or something like that, because remember, when that paint dries it's going to fill that tiny little hole. So yeah, no points for good looks or anything like that. Just apply the paint as best you can and get all those cracks and holes filled. So we're at the swamp again at the moment, my little pool outside. Where we've taken this lure now is we've done all the base coats, so the prime coats and the white coat, which is now ready for foiling. But I think at this point it's a very good idea to test it to make sure it swims properly. I think I know this will swim anyway. And if there are any changes you have to do, you don't want to have painted it and then make those changes. So now is a very good time to test it, so let's give that a go quickly now. Okay, so now we're to the foiling of the Conquistador. I've been through this in another video, but we'll do it again, the method I like to use. So I always just lay my lure on the foil, get an approximate sort of length of foil that I need. There, we got it there. And the first thing we do is, utilizing a scalpel, is we open the foil, or start taking the paper back off the foil. This is always the hardest part, particularly if you've got eyes like I have. There we go. Just run your scalpel along the edge. Peel back about an inch of paper and make a fold there. That's just the way I like to do it, but it has worked out for me. Then taking the lure and taking the foil and lying it across the lure, so you immediately line it up with your thumb. The back of the foil, the exposed sticky end of the foil, partially over the wire, stick it down. Now it makes it easy. Put your thumb on there. Start peeling the paper towards the eye of the lure and pushing your thumb forward at the same time. Gets it on nice and evenly, nice and smooth. And we're done. From here, we want to push down into the belly first. Back, as I've said before, very easy to hide any creases you might get in the foil. Belly, where there's not much paint, we want as few creases as possible. So I always start by the gills, work my way to the top of the fin, pushing out any bubbles with my pre-sandpapered fingernail. Very short. I often just keep a little bit of 600 or 1000 grit by me, and keep that smooth so you don't scratch the foil. And just pushing down into the recesses of the fin, or the ridges of the fin in this case, should I say, and then continuing that down the lure body. You might have to take an angle on it all the way to the tail. Now back to the fin. The fin is where we want no creases at all, because it's a very exposed area, which I normally leave silver. Very few tints on it even. So you want to try and get all the creases out of there. Any minor ones you can get rid of with your tools later. Get the bubbles out. Okay, and we're doing okay there. I've done this foil a little bit short, but that doesn't really matter because that will be under paint. and those little creases there I'm not worried about as long as they're not on the fin. Now to the gills, another area I like to keep relatively crease free. The finger will only get out certain creases. You're going to have to get to the tools a bit later to really get the rest of them out. Those I don't bother about, I can get rid of those. Okay, now from the head we're going to work the back and get all the bubbles out. Okay, and basically you want to finish up looking something like that. Of course that's not finished yet. There are scratches I can see here which we're going to get rid of. So we're going to go back to the face now and we're going to just work on these gills here. Can always use different tools. I've got the scalpel here, very smooth. Something that's very effective for foiling. Let me just remove a few things here. Oh, a lot of the sculpture tools for pottery. If I can grab some here, I'll show you. But there's a host of things you can get, all of which you can use in some form or another. Little balls on the end. That's actually quite a nice little tool there for certain patterns on foil, as is that. You can do lines, you could do various things. These are very good for actually laying the foil, like so, and getting rid of those scratches. Wood is very good on foil. Little corners like that, good for getting into the gills. Can be used to get into recesses. Pens, again, to get in there. But the main thing right now is we just want to press out the bubbles. I do have my sharp scalpel at hand, or did have. Let me just use that to make a few small incisions. Get the air out, push it towards the hole. Notice I've made the holes right on the edge or right on the ridge or the recess so you can hide it. So basically at the end of the day we just want to get all of those creases out. We've gone through the tools, my favorite little paint stick here. I'll be rubbing over that, getting rid of the scratches, getting rid of these creases on the fins, and we'll end up with a well foiled lure that has the foil tucked nicely into the recesses. Cut out the eye into the gill recesses here, the fin recesses, and cut away on the back evenly where it will meet the foil on the other side. The stage after this, I'll be taking the fully foiled lure. I'll be cross-hatching it, doing the skull pattern, doing all the facial detail, cutting out the eyes, obviously, things like that. And then I'll be, after the cross-hatching, I'll be 2K'ing it to get the initial clear coat so we can prepare it for paint. It's come out quite spectacular. I've also 2K clear coated this and sanded it back, so it's now ready to paint. So from here we'll go to the spray booth and we'll commence with the painting.